We will be starting the webinar in just a few minutes. We're just waiting for people to join. Um, give people a couple of minutes to join. Okay. Ooh, lovely. Okay, so welcome to setting up your first Google Ads campaign, which will be presented by my colleague, Momin. I will be helping Mo with the chat and with the Q&A today. My name is Monica Thomas. I'm also a tech champion. I am a white female with dark hair and glasses and a stripy top. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. Please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat and let us know which organization you're from. You can use the reaction buttons. You can use the emojis if you want. The webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel and also to our website. And we will email you the link to the video next week. Also, this event is being live captioned. So to turn captions on and off, you can just click the CC button at the bottom of your screen. As you might have noticed, we have our lovely BSL translators helping us out as well. So you should be able, hopefully, see the BSL translator in a small screen to the side of the presentation or above. So our webinar is set to run for an hour, and we will have a short break and a Q&A session at the end. If you have any questions during the presentation, if you could please put them in the Q&A section rather than in the chat, because I will be monitoring both, but it will be easier for me to isolate the questions if I see them in the Q&A section. We will aim, or Mo will aim, to answer all of the questions, but if there are any that we don't have the time to answer, they will be answered afterwards. And we will send the questions and the answers to you after the webinar within the next week. So don't worry if your question hasn't been answered. So I think this is all. I think it's time to hand over to Mo. And well, I look forward to your webinar. I hope everyone else does. Good luck.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Monica. So yeah, thanks to that introduction from Monica. My name's Momin. I am the SEO and SEM tech champion based out of the Northeast, out of Newcastle. And today, this webinar is going to be on setting up your first Google Ads campaign to drive converting traffic. Okay. I am an Asian male with black hair, and I'm wearing a grey jumper as well. Okay. So like Monica said, this is going to be about an hour long, and I want to aim by the end of this webinar for everyone here to be able to at least set up their first Google ad. And from that, be able to start running it and actually drive some traffic to their website. So, like Monica said, if you've got any questions, do pop them in the chat. I'm loving all the engagement already from everyone introducing themselves. Please do keep doing that. Let's keep this an engaging webinar. So, just a quick little itinerary of what we're going to be going through. We've got what is a Google ad, why we're going to be using Google ads, keyword research, which is a huge part when it comes to Google ads and actually optimizing for the user. Structuring your ads, because it can be quite complicated to set up once you're looking at it for the first time, or even if you've been using Google ads for a while, just knowing how to structure it properly can sometimes be a difficulty. So we're going to be running through that, creating your ad, talking about conversions because they can be quite tricky, and then at the end, we are hoping to leave time for a Q&A. So do pop any questions that you might have. So a very quick poll that I just want to run. Who has used Google Ads before? This will just give me a quick idea of how many people have actually used the platform before. Okay, so Monica should be starting the poll up in a second. So just give it a second and it should be on your screens. Yeah, so that's a great question, Andy. I'll answer that at the end. And I do have a slide on it as well. So we'll look at that near the end and hopefully it'll answer your question.
Mo, I have to confess, I have a problem with the poll.
Fine. I'll launch that from my end then.
Okay, thanks.
So that's been set up. So if yeah, everyone can just start filling that in. Perfect. I'm loving all these rapid responses. Okay, we'll just wait a couple more seconds. The majority of you have answered. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've got about a 60-40 split. So 60% of you haven't used it and 40% have. So that this webinar is going to be it's going to be suitable for everyone here essentially. Where even if you have used it, it will be going through some fundamental basics that people often struggle with, and just clearing up a couple of questions that people often have. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for answering that so promptly as well. So what is a Google ad? Let's actually start off with talking about what a Google ad is. Okay, so if we're looking at a query such as dance lessons near me, people are going to search a specific query on Google. Now, there's a couple of different ways where you can show up for that query. Either you can have done some great search engine optimization and you can be the best person in that niche to show up for that keyword and you'll be right at the top. Okay. But that can take a lot of time and it can take a lot of money to have your website near the top for every single keyword. So we've got a little bit of a workaround with Google Ads where you can actually just pay per keyword and have yourself come right to the top. So what you can see here is dance lessons near me. We have Super Prof and we have City Academy showing up, and it just means that you can pay to be at the top. Okay, so this is what a Google ad is in essence. There's a couple of different aspects to a Google ad which are important to know. So you've got our headline. So the headline, we've got Absolute Beginner's Dance, then we've got our descriptions, and then we've got some other links at the bottom of the ad as well, so site links. And you can see the same here. So we've got our headline, private dance lessons nearby, book dance lessons as low as £15 an hour. That's our description. And then we've got some other links that are showing up. So that's the basis of what we call a Google search ad. So let's look at the best museum ever because that's who we're going to be advertising today. And whether you're a museum yourself or whether you're an art gallery, whether you're a dance studio, an orchestra, I want you to put yourselves in the same shoes as the best museum ever. Okay. Um, and yeah, so this is the sort of ad we want to create. So, like you can see here, this is the headline that we've got. We've got Explore Dinosaurs today because the best museum ever has to have dinosaurs. So, we've got that in our headline. Kids go free, book now. That's an example of a headline. Okay. And then we've got Walk with Giants, see life-size dinosaurs, and dig for fossils in our Dino Zone Unforgettable exhibit. So that's our description essentially. And yeah, but that's where Nick works. Does that summarize what the best museum ever does? I don't know, maybe you can tell me a little bit better. Um, so that's the sort of ad we want to create. And now I want to look at why we would choose Google Ads. There's loads of different platforms out there. There's Meta, there's Instagram within Meta, there's Facebook within Meta, there's Google Ads, there's other types of advertising as well that you can be doing, which may not be digital. Why would we specifically look at Google Ads? Now, there's three main reasons that I would use Google Ads or I would prompt someone to be using Google Ads. So we've got the first one where we're trying to reach people searching for our specific product. So with Google Ads, the amazing thing about it is that we can reach a consumer who is searching directly for a product. They're ready to buy, they're ready and searching to actually make a purchase or have a conversion action or do something specific that we want. Um, so um, when we have someone searching for our specific product, we want to be showing up there as that first search so they can click on that and complete their purchase. This in comparison to something like Meta, you're advertising in front of people that aren't wanting to buy your product. Okay, they're not wanting to actually engage with you. You're putting yourselves in front of them, just like a billboard, and hoping that you're going to catch their eye and get them to convert or do the action that you want. So that's the difference between Google advertising and something like Facebook, where Google, you're approaching people that are ready to buy and are actually wanting to convert and do a specific action. Um, so the second reason is you're only paying when someone clicks. So you're not going to get charged if you're showing up for loads of different people in the searches. You're only going to get charged when someone clicks, and each click will have a certain price allocated to it, depending on the keyword, depending on how good your campaign has been set up. But it can sometimes range from £1 a click, can be sometimes cheaper than that as well, but £1 a click to potentially even for some very competitive industries um, like finance and law, sometimes it can even be £10 to £12 a click. So you only pay when someone clicks, and this makes it very predictable when we're looking at how much we're actually going to spend in our marketing. Okay. Then the next and third sort of reason why you would be using Google Ads is to get onto Google without search engine optimization. So we've got a couple of other examples of different types of Google Ads here as well. We can have shopping ads, and you can see that here on the right. Um, if you want to get your product right at the top and you just want to sell something in e-commerce, then you can do that. Then we have website sidebars, and you can see this Cloudflare example, which might show up when you're searching or navigating the web. You've also got YouTube, and you can show up at the start of a YouTube video. And then you've also got search ads. Okay, you've also got search ads, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Any other types of ads that you do want to be running, if you do want to run a Google Shopping ad or a display ad like this or a YouTube ad, then you can book in with me for further one-to-one support, and we can have a look at that for your organization. So feel free to do that as well. So poll number two, let me just run this. So what goals are you most interested in? Let's just launch that one as well. So we've got a couple of different goals that we can have. So brand awareness, engagement, sales, and traffic. So we'll just give everyone a couple of seconds to answer that. And we've got some good responses coming in. Yeah, just keep them coming. We've got about 30 people left to respond. Perfect. Okay. So let's have a look, and I'm just going to share the results with everyone here. So you can see it's quite an even split between brand awareness, engagement, and traffic, but the majority of us want sales, and that's completely understandable because that's where the money comes from, right? So sales is perfect. That's absolutely fine. So I'll show you how we can start sort of getting our campaigns to align with our objectives in a second. Okay. Um, but before that, before we actually start building our campaign, the key thing we want to start looking at is keyword research. Any campaign, the backbone of any campaign has to start off with keyword research, because that's sort of where if we use billboards as an example, that's the street that we're putting our billboard on. Each keyword you have to imagine as a piece of real estate, or as a street that you're putting your keyword on. Okay, and that's where keyword research is fundamental, because if you've done the right keyword research and you're going after the right keywords, then you can reach the right customers, and you can reach the people that are ready to actually take action and get those sales or get that website traffic. Okay, so that's why keyword research is fundamental, and I'm going to show you exactly how we can do that. So I've got a video here of me using a tool called Google Keyword Planner. Um, and Google Keyword Planner is within the Google Ads platform itself. You should be able to easily find Google Keyword Planner if you just type it into Google, or otherwise, if you have the a dashboard open, this is what the dashboard will look like. You just want to click on Tools in the left and then click Keyword Planner. So this is going to help us find some keywords for the best museum ever. All right. So let's just play this video. We are going to click on to discover new keywords, and I'm going to put in a couple of keywords that I think are relevant for the best museum ever. So half-term activities and things to do for kids. So there's plenty of keywords that you can put here, and this isn't going to be a 5 minute job. We are going to want to be spending some time looking at certain keywords that are going to be relevant for ourselves. So do spend some time, and you can see here, I know it's quite zoomed in, but you can see here at the bottom, we've got loads of keywords that are coming up. We've got some data around those keywords, like average monthly searches. And we've got things like 3 month change and year on year change. But what we want to start looking through is mainly going through the keywords and looking at all the keywords that are relevant. If they're not relevant, we can broaden our search by looking at the suggestions it gives above. We can put in different keywords there as well at the top, and it'll give us loads of different ideas. We want to start ticking those keywords, and then what we can do is we can click that copy button, and we want to set them aside in a Google Doc or in notes somewhere else, so that when we are creating our campaign, we can paste them in there. So hopefully that makes sense. A good sort of keyword research timeline, I would say you want to spend between two hours to probably a full working day, really looking at which keywords are going to be relevant. Okay. Each sort of campaign, and for the best museum ever, I would probably look at getting 40 to 50 really good keywords across different themes. And we'll look at how we want to segregate our keywords into different themes in a second as well. Okay, so to summarize, what we've done so far is we've talked about what a Google ad is, why we would be using a Google ad, and then started looking at keyword research and how to sort of do keyword research to begin with. There are more advanced ways of doing it as well, but for the purpose of this webinar and sort of getting everyone to be able to create a campaign right after this, this is the version I'd recommend. And of course, this is absolutely free as well. There's other tools out there where you have to pay for them, but this is absolutely free, and it's Google's own keyword tool, so it does work really well. So how do we actually go on to structuring our ads? First, we need to be looking at our campaign type. And like I said, we're going to be using search campaigns for today. And if you want to look at any other sorts of campaigns, you're going to book in with me, or you can book in with me and we can have some one-to-one support with regards to that. So I'll show you what this all looks like in a second, and how you choose certain parts of the campaign. But we're going to be looking at search campaigns from today's webinar, and that's going to be that initial Google ad that we looked at in the start, how we go about creating that. So there's three different tiers when it comes to structuring our ads within Google Ads. So we've got our campaigns, we've got our ad groups, and then we've got our ads. So the way I want everyone to think about campaigns is it's a specific product or service that you're selling. So in the context of the best museum ever, it might be the newest exhibition that we have. So it might be a dinosaur exhibition that we've got a campaign running for. And then we can further segregate campaigns in accordance to whether the goal is awareness or it's sales. And the way that we can differentiate between that is maybe if we just want some sort of engagement, or we just want people to go to our website, they can land on our homepage. If we want people to actually buy, they can land on the actual product page where they can buy the tickets. So campaigns, I really like to sort of think about as what product I'm selling, and then also what the purpose of that campaign is. Then within that campaign, we then have ad groups, and this is where we really want to be doing our customer targeting. Um, so when we're targeting customers, the main way we want to do this within Google Ads is by having the right keywords. So we could have an ad group for parents, right? And think about parents and what sort of things they'd be typing in to get to our website. Okay, so parents would be putting in half-term activities. A child themselves might not be typing in half-term activities, or they might not be typing in things to do for kids, but a parent might be. So why do we want to actually segregate those things out? Why do we want a ad group for parents, for example? Why do we want a separate one for people searching for dinosaurs, maybe? And why do we want a separate one for people looking for something to do within Newcastle? Um, and that's mainly because then we can make ads and we can make our headlines very specific to keywords that we've chosen. And I'm going to show you examples in a second, so hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. But it is quite a complicated idea to get your head around, but hopefully it's sort of making sense here. Um, so just to illustrate my point a little bit better, when we have different search terms that people are typing in, people might be typing in half-term activities, they might be typing in museums near me, dinosaur exhibition. So each customer typing this in is a different sort of customer, and they have a different customer persona. And for each customer persona, I want to have a different ad group. Now, each of these I could put into a separate ad group and have keywords surrounding the themes of half-term activities. Okay, museums near me have keywords which are very similar to museums near me and people interested in museums specifically. And then dinosaur exhibitions, I can have specific keywords to do with dinosaurs. And all of these keywords here, you want to spend some time using that tool, using Keyword Planner to actually create lists of keywords which are very, very similar. So the ad group examples that we're going to be using are parents. Okay, so the first ad group we will call parents. The second ad group we'll call dinosaurs. The third ad group we'll have as location. And within each of these, we'll have 5 to 10 very specific keywords to do with each of these ad groups. Okay, and you'll see why this matters in a second, how if we do this, we can really get our headlines to cater for the specific keywords within each of these ad groups. So we've got a couple of headline examples here. So number one in Newcastle, we can have as a headline, explore dinosaur fossils. We can have as a headline, we can have half-term workshops for kids. Now, if we just left Google to do what it does best and just put all our keywords within one ad group, we might get number one in Newcastle to show up for half-term activities. Okay, we might get explore dinosaur fossils to come up for museums near me. We might get half-term workshops for kids to show for dinosaur exhibition, and they are relevant. They are relevant to the museum, and they are relevant to the best museum ever. However, it's not very specific to that search term that they're typing in, and that's because we haven't segregated out the keywords and we haven't created different ads for each group of keywords. And that's what we'll end up getting. And you can imagine with that, you're not going to be the first person that someone will click on if it doesn't align with their exact search term. So that's what we want to try and do to the best of our ability. So this example here works so much better, where you've got half-term activities and then you've got half-term workshops for kids. You've got museums near me and you've got number one in Newcastle. You've got a dinosaur exhibition and we've got explore our dinosaur fossils. And you can see how much more they match up with the search terms. And that's what we're aiming to do with having separate ad groups. So this would be the parents ad group and it'd have 5 to 10 different keywords similar to half-term activities, and then all our headlines would be very specific to half-term activities or what anything that parents would be typing in. And then the same with museums near me. This would be um, ad group which we might call locality or the local ad group and location based, and we'll put in things about Newcastle because we're based there. And then we've got dinosaur exhibition, and we'll do the same thing. We'll have loads of dinosaur keywords and then explore our dinosaur fossils, which is very, very relevant. So match what they're looking for, match what your audience are looking for. Okay, match that keyword with the correct headline. And this is a bit of an infographic to show you what it's going to look like near the end. And you're going to have one campaign which is going to have multiple ad groups within. Okay, within each ad group, you'll have a set of keywords that you're going to choose that are going to be very similar. And then you're going to have an ad which caters specifically to those keywords with the correct headline and with the correct description. Okay, so this could be our parents ad group, and this could be our dinosaurs ad group, and you can have separate keywords, and we'll have our separate ad here as well for each of them. So this ad will be very optimized for these keywords here. It won't be too optimized for keyword set one, but the ads in keyword set one will be optimized for ad group one for keyword set one, but not the best for keyword set two. So that's what we want to try and look at there. So let's see what this all looks like coming together. And this is what our normal Google dashboard will look like once we've signed in, once we've made our account. And we are going to click new campaign. And for the purpose of choosing the right objective, I'm going to choose website traffic. Um, However, if you want to go for sales, you can choose sales. There's leads, awareness and consideration. So there's loads of different objectives that you can choose from. If you're starting out, I would probably go with website traffic to begin with, and then maybe go into sales a little bit later on. If you haven't spent any budget or anything, sometimes website traffic can work better. However, if you're going for something like e-commerce or you're selling specific products, then you want to go for sales directly. So we're going to go onto website traffic, and then it's going to ask us about specific conversion goals. And we'll look at conversion goals a little bit later on. It is something which can be quite complicated to set up. But from Google's point of view, conversions are great because it lets Google know how well your campaign is performing. And it's essentially going to be highlighting to Google that we want this one button pressed, we want someone to purchase, and them clicking this button is exactly what we want. So then Google will try and optimize for that as much as it possibly can. Okay, so for now, we will just leave that as the default, but you can see there's loads of different goals there. So we're going to click continue. We've got a couple of different campaign types. We've got search, performance max, demand gen, video, shopping display. For now, we're going to go with search ads. So with this now, we're going to put in the website, thebestmuseumever.co.uk. This website doesn't exist, so if you go searching, it's not going to come up, but that's just an example of what it is. The campaign name, I like to name it as the purpose, so traffic, and then what the product is. So traffic and then new exhibition. It makes it easier for us to, at the start, know what we're looking at when we've got multiple campaigns running. So when it comes to bidding, you'll be asked whether you want to go for conversions or clicks or conversion value. If you have conversions set up, I would go with conversions. If you don't, and you just want to get something started straight away, I would go with clicks. So start off with clicks, and I'm just in this, I'll just be changing that now already. So you can see I've got that set up as clicks. And when we're going to go next, I like to untick these search networks. And once you've unticked those, you can go on to the next part, which is locations. So enter another location. I'm just going to go with Newcastle. It depends what you're doing. Who do you want to advertise to? Certain organizations like to advertise to the whole of the UK. For us, the best museum ever is based in Newcastle, so that's what we're going to set that up as. The rest of the settings you can sort of leave for now. They're not too important to focus on at the minute, and they're not going to be the highest yield sort of settings that you need to look at. But this is something that I do want to highlight. Right at the bottom, you'll see something which says more settings. And you can have a start and end date. So whether you want to run your campaign for 30 days, you can have that set up so that it runs after 30 days and ends automatically, and you don't have to go in and pause it yourself. So that's something that you can have set up there. We've done that now, and then it'll move on to keyword and asset generation. There's a new feature that they've put in where it uses AI to start off with. I don't really like using it, so I will just scroll down and click skip because I like doing it manually. And then where we get up to is we get up to this ad group page. So everything we've done so far has been to set up the campaign. Now we've got to the part where we're setting up the ad group. Okay. And within that ad group, we are going to be using those keywords that we chose earlier on, basically. So in this ad group, this is going to be our parents ad group. We're going to name it parents, and then we'll put in the keywords that we put in earlier on. So we'll come back to this in a second now. So you actually want to move on to creating your ads, and within your ad group, once you've created your ad group and put in your keywords, that's essentially your ad group set. And now we want to move on to creating our ads. And one of the highest sort of yield things that I'd want to say when it comes to creating your ads is your headlines, and we'll see what it's like populating these in this where we're just carrying on. So you can see I've got the ad group one set as parents, and you want to name it as whatever your theme of keywords is. And within that, I have half term activities near me, things to do in the half term, things to do in half term near me, half term events near me, and you can have a lot more, but it's all about doing that specific keyword research within this and spending some time looking at it. Um, so do spend some time and do way more than I have done here. Have words that are slightly different but fit the same niche, fit the same theme. And then we go into creating our ad. So with our ad, we want to put in our URL like we've done above, and then it's going to ask for our headlines. Now, you want to populate as many headlines as possible. So I've got half-term activities for kids, and you can see these are lining up very specifically with the keywords we've set up. We've got exclusive exhibits for kids. Okay, and it'll ask for, I believe there's 3 that you have to put in, and then there's 9 that you can put in total. And Google will carousel through these ads, through these headlines to see which ones work best. So you want to try and put in as many as possible. So we've got Explore Dinosaurs today, art workshops for kids, the best museum ever. And normally, the the avenue that I go down with headlines is I normally have 3 different types. So we have our product slash our unique selling point, and you can see that's what we've had so far. So Explore Dinosaurs today, art workshops for kids, half-term activities for kids. That's our product and our specific unique selling point. Then we're going to be looking at our branded headlines. So the best museum ever, that's our brand. So we want to put in our brand. And then we want to put in our call to action, our urgency. So kids go free, book now. Okay, see what's on for kids. Okay, so specific call to action headlines that we're putting in. And that's how I normally like to segregate our headlines and top rated by parents. It's creating some sort of urgency, telling them why they should click. Okay. And you can put in extra headlines, limited space available, again, creating the urgency. Now we go into our descriptions, try fill in the character limit as much as you can. So walk with giants, see life size dinosaurs, and dig for fossils in our dino zone. And then unforgettable exhibits, hand-on experience. We've got that all there. You want to put in images if you have images, and then we have some other parts of the ad that we can put in there as well. So you can populate as many of that as possible. I just want to go through and show you very quickly what we have with site links. So with site links, these are extra links that might be related to your ad that you put on in the ad. So whereas your original URL that they're clicking on might lead to the sales page, you could also put in a link to the About Us page, or how to get there, or what's on. And you can have loads of different links showing up. And what this does is it means that on the results page, you actually take up more space, and it makes it easier for a consumer to see your ad in comparison to others. So I would recommend putting in site links. So we'll go through this, we'll click done, and we'll click next, and you can see here that it'll say that we have an average daily budget that's recommended. So you can go with this average daily budget, or you can go with a budget that you've set yourself, and we'll go into budgeting in a second as well. But you've got some of these budgets, and what Google bases these recommended budgets on is sort of with the keywords that you've chosen, what are other advertisers normally using as an average budget? Okay, so it gives you an idea of that. And you'll also get an average cost per click, you'll get weekly clicks, and you'll get a weekly cost as well. And don't look at this and see this is whatever this is going to be exactly what you're going to get. However, it'll be pretty similar to what you're going to get, and it'll give you an idea of how much you've set it up. Okay. Um, and with regards to that now, this is just with one ad group. Okay, what we would want to then do is we'll go in and have other ad groups that we'll go in and make, and we'll have a campaign, three ad groups underneath and three specific ads. Okay, so that's something just because of the interest of time, trying to fit in everything within an hour with a Q&A. Unfortunately, I can't go through and show you setting up those other ad groups as well, but it's the same process. You would just create another ad group and have those different keywords, and you'd have those different ads as well. Okay. Um, so we would go in and do that. You could set a custom budget, and then you would click next, and you would just click publish campaign. Okay, so that'll go in and publish, and it'll ask you to set up with a Google tag if you haven't already, and that's where conversions sort of come in. So you'll just want to click next on this, but I've paused the video here because this will be a separate step, but you can skip it or you can set it up. And ideally, you want to be setting it up so we can have conversions. But again, just to reiterate, with our headlines, you've got three different types. You've got your product slash USP, you've got your branded, and then you've got your CTA or your call to action headline. So if you're ever struggling with headlines, think about these three categories. So moving on to conversions. Um, so set these up to let Google know what you want the customer to be doing. So you've got two key components. You've either got Tag Manager or you've got Google Analytics 4. And these can be quite complicated to set up in the back end if you don't have any programming knowledge or you haven't used any of sort of these data analytics tools in the past. I myself struggle with them as well. Setting them up correctly can sometimes be quite difficult. So I often go and ask my colleague James Akers, who is the tech champion for data analytics and insight, and he's absolutely great at what he does. So if you do need any help with setting up the conversions, James is a great person to talk to. He'll help you set them all up and make sure that you're tracking everything correctly. So a great little shout out to James there. Okay. Um, so how much do you need to spend? And this is a question that a lot of people ask me, and it's a question which doesn't have an exact answer. It completely depends on each individual organization. But what I do sort of mention is within marketing and within advertising, the amount of money you're spending shouldn't be an issue as long as you're making more than you've spent. Okay, as long as you're profitable, um, it shouldn't be a huge problem. Okay, but it does become a problem when your ad, you've spent money on it and you've optimized it and it's still not actually giving you the results that you want. So when do we actually stop and say, okay, it's not working. Maybe we need to spend some more time learning it. Maybe we need to spend um, a little bit more time doing some research into why it's not working. Maybe the ads are working really well, but your website just isn't converting. So what can we actually do, and how much should we actually spend to say, okay, you know what, maybe this isn't going down the right path, and maybe it's going to take a little bit too much money for us to get it to be working the way we want it to be working. So I would normally say within the first 400 to £500 that you spend with Google Ads, you should at least be getting some sort of leads. Okay, whether it's an email sign up, whether it's people adding to cart, um, whether it's people calling your business, or organization, you should be getting some sort of traction. If you spend that first £400 to £500 and you haven't got anything out of it at all, then I would probably stop there and say, okay, you know what, this isn't working for us at the moment. It doesn't mean that Google Ads is absolutely rubbish and doesn't work for the organization. It just means maybe it's going to take quite a lot more money to get it to work the way it should be for yourselves. So I would probably at that point say, okay, it's not worth us doing. Let's stop. Okay. Um, if you are getting leads and you are getting people emailing, you are getting people signing up with that £400 to £500, I would ideally hope that we're getting some sales as well. But if we're not getting sales, I would wait until that £1,000 point to wait until and say, is this working or not? And this that £1,000 budget will give us a lot of time to optimize. It'll give us time to go in and see if things are working or they're not working, if we need to change anything. And if after that £1,000 spent, we still don't see any results, we still don't see any sales, then I would probably say, okay, we've given it our best shot. Let's stop it for now. It's probably going to take more money for us to get it to work than we have at the moment. Okay. And that's the sort of best guideline that I would give from my point of view when it comes to actually how much you're going to need to spend. Now, that budget can be allocated over a period of 2 to 3 weeks. It can be allocated over a period of maybe 2 or 4 months. Okay, it's not hugely dependent on the time period. It's dependent on how much budget you're spending. Okay, so you could spend loads in a day depending on whether you have the clicks there. So you need to make sure that you have those clicks available. And by that, I mean whether you have that traffic actually there for those certain keywords. Okay. And if that traffic is available for those keywords, then yeah, you can spend more. But I would recommend have sort of in your eyes a budget of up to £1,000 and over a period of 3 or 4 months. Moving on to ad grants. So Ad Grants gives a budget of $10,000 monthly for non-profit organizations. So you can apply for Ad Grants, and we've got Monica who's here with me on the call as well, and she introduced me earlier on. She is an absolute wizard when it comes to Ad Grants, so she can definitely help you out with applying to Ad Grants and getting you started with Ad Grants. However, there is a big disclaimer when it comes to Ad Grants where this $10,000 budget sounds absolutely amazing, and it seems like it could change any businesses or organizations' trajectory. However, Google is quite sneaky with it, because they'll only give you keywords that other people aren't bidding on. Um, so that really limits you, and they'll only sort of give you keywords that aren't very much sort of money keywords or keywords that'll generate you a lot of money. So in terms of organizations that I've worked with that are using ad grants, the majority aren't able to use that $10,000 budget. And normally the average spend that I end up seeing, even though people set their budget quite high, the normal average spend that I'll see is anywhere between $500 a month to about $1,500 a month. Okay, and then some people it's even less than that because their organization relies on these quite competitive keywords or keywords that have very little traffic. Okay, so what I would say for ad grants is I would say when you are looking at those ad groups, rather than going for 5 to 10 keywords, go for as many keywords as you possibly can, just so you can cast your net as broad as possible. Okay. So hopefully that answers that ad grants question that we got asked at the start. Okay. So that is the end of what I've got in terms of the webinar. And yeah, we'll move on to the Q&A.
Mo, do you want to do the wrap up first?
Yeah, so with regards to everything in this webinar, it will be recorded and it will be sent to you within the first 7 days from this webinar. So if you want to rewatch or go through the content again, follow along with the videos, you're welcome to do that as well. If you do want to book a case with myself or with anyone else on the team, you're welcome to do that. We encourage people booking as many cases as possible across loads of different specialities, and we are absolutely free with everything that we do. And after this webinar as well, everyone will be getting a survey come through, and it'd be great if everyone could fill in that survey and talk through or just put in some feedback for us so that we know whether this webinar helped you out and whether we can improve this um, later on and what other things that we can do to improve. Okay.
Brilliant. And I just wanted to mention that if you like this webinar, there is another one coming from
Yeah.
Katie Farrell about beginner's guide to Google, sorry, not
So
Google, Meta
meta
ads. So
to meta
basically,
ads, yeah.
yes,
So
Facebook and Instagram. So you just can be totally queued up. Okay, right. So we've got loads of actually questions. We've got so
okay,
many.
great.
Just to sort of the questions that we get about ad grants. Yeah, basically yes, same dashboard, different principles. Because yeah, like Mo said, it's got ties. It's a bit of a gifted horse. So you get free money, but there's stuff that you can't do that you can do with paid ads. So different strategies required. Right. So I'm going to start off with something that is very pertinent, AI overviews. So how much of an impact does Google AI overview have on Google Ads? I mean, does it make them less visible? People not clicking through, not seeing the ads because they see the overview. What is your take on it?
Yeah, so the AI overviews, they have sort of rocked up everything within the search engine world, and I think everyone is looking at AI overviews as a question for themselves to say, okay, what's going to happen? Are we no longer looking to rank number one for keywords? What are we actually doing here? Because these AI overviews actually summarize everything a lot of consumers and Google users are actually looking for. I think the main thing that we need to remember with anything when it comes to Google Ads is it's still their primary source of revenue when it comes to their search engine. And it's in their best interest to show us with um, show us to users that are looking for keywords that are going to generate money for certain organizations. So Google isn't going to give up on Google Ads just because they've got their AI overviews, and they might be in places that or within the search rankings they might not be as visible as they used to be because there's other things that are distracting on the page. However, it's not a huge issue because we're still paying per click. We're still paying for someone clicking on our actual ad or searching for a specific product, and they are going to need to go to a website to book. An AI overview isn't going to let someone book a museum ticket, so they still are going to need to see a specific ad and go onto that website. So what you'll get is you'll still be able to click through the user will still be able to click through onto your ad. It may not be as visible, but that doesn't matter to you specifically because you're paying per click. And if you're looking at getting 500 to 1,000 clicks a month, as long as you're still getting those 500 to 1,000 clicks a month, it's not going to impact the way your campaigns are going to be run. And if anything, Google will try and optimize per user because it's in Google's best interest to show um, the best content for whoever's searching. And Google will have some idea of what a customer is trying to do, what a searcher is trying to do. Are they trying to just find out more information, or are they trying to actually buy something specific? And they will adjust what they show people according to what that search is and what they know about that user profile. So hopefully that answers the question.
Okay. So, the next kind of cluster of questions was around local search. So basically, any advice on local search? Are you able to target specific locations? And also the fact that different people searching in different locations tend to have different search results coming up for them. So, what is your take on the local search?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things that you can do, and like we looked at within one of the videos, I changed the location for the best museum ever to only show in Newcastle. So you can do the exact same thing, and we can have separate campaigns showing up in separate locations if that's what we want as well. Might want to advertise to local people and show them certain ads, but then we might want to advertise to people that are a little bit further away and then show them a different sort of ad, or show them rather than exhibitions that are quite routine, show them special exhibitions we might have coming up that people will want to travel for. And that's fully dependent on your business and your organization. There are going to be people that are typing in certain keywords with locations based in them, and that's great as well. And that's why we can have an ad group based on location. So best museums in Newcastle, best museum near me, all those are location type keywords. And within our headlines, it's great if we can put in something about the locality, whether it's in a headline or right next to a famous landmark, or how easy it is to get to, or anything specific to that. Okay. And we do have a new type of campaign called Performance Max, and within Performance Max, um, you can put in loads of information, and what it'll do is it can actually show up, or make you show up as an ad in the Google Maps results or Google Business Profile results. So when people type in restaurants near me and you see these business profiles come up, Performance Max campaigns can actually get you put in there, but that's a different type of campaign. Just like we have search campaigns, we've got display, we've got Performance Max, and that's something that if you do want to have a look at Performance Max campaigns, they are um, a little bit more down the line, in my opinion. And I'd want an ad account to have some data first, with regards to having a search campaign run first, have some amount of spend on the campaign, then move on to Performance Max. But in summary, you've got those three things. You've got showing up in the actual map results, then you've got optimizing in the ad group, and then you've also got optimizing within the location where the campaign shows.
And there was quite a few questions around the keywords, since obviously you talked about it quite a lot.
Yeah.
So some people are asking, is Google Analytics helpful to find this starting point to see what people are already searching for? And when you're doing the keyword research, what time frame would you use? I mean, would you be looking at the past month, or would you be looking for like a longer duration of time to see what trends there are over time?
Yeah, so within the keyword planner, you will be able to see that there's two columns in the keyword planner, and I'm sorry we weren't able to go through the each part of keyword planner and the specific columns, just because I wanted to leave time for the Q&A, and we wouldn't have been able to get that if we went through each of those columns. But you'll see some of those columns have the year-on-year change and the 3-month change. So with the year-on-year change, that is going to be looking at yearly trends. Okay, so whether something is becoming more popular. Okay, so I don't know, using shoes as an example. For example, you might have a brand that's become more popular over this last year, and that year-on-year change will be shown when you're using that keyword, that brand as a keyword. Okay, the 3-month change is going to be more for seasonal changes, so things like half-term holidays, for things like Christmas holidays, things like Christmas decorations, or things that are very seasonal. So depending on how evergreen your product is, if you're looking at an exhibition um, that's only going to be shown for, I don't know, the next month or so, you might want to look at what the keywords have been doing for the past 5 or 6 months. Okay. But if you're looking at something more evergreen, you might want to look at the trends over the past year or the past 2 years and see what they're like. But essentially, you want to look at the here and now to see how much traffic can you actually get, and are you actually advertising to enough people with those searches? Because if there's no traffic for that search term, it'll be cheap, but you're not going to get a huge amount of clicks. So it's sort of need to balance it in accordance to that.
Okay. Thanks. I mean, we've got loads of questions, and Mo is going to reply to them, and basically we'll send them out with the rest of the materials. Somebody just posted that they're not quite clear, or was a bit cryptic about Google Ads, Google Ad Grants. So Google Ad Grants is for charities. You get free amount of money credit on your account to advertise, but there are severe restrictions on what you can do with ad grants. It doesn't mean that they're not useful to a charity. They can be hugely useful, but the strategy will be different to what Mo described, because it's just a different beast. And if you want to talk about ad grants, then you can book an appointment with me. I think we're done, Mo.
Perfect, perfect. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. I hope that was useful to everyone. Remember to fill in that survey, and yeah, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day.